When a man says, where's the good women at? That translates, I'm a feminine man looking for women to take care of. Masculine men bring the femininity out of any woman around them. How can you move into a woman's home and not remove her worries? You don't love her. You're reaching off of her. Now she's depressed. This is why she lost respect for you. At minimum, a man should have $300,000 in his savings account. 50,000 of that goes to your new bride. Before y'all get married here, I love you hits 50,000. The other 50,000 go on a deposit of your new family house.
To this, Yada, I'm gonna have you open up the conversation here. Should men be expected to cover 100% of the bills?
First, I want to say all praise is due to the Most High, and I want to pray real quick if you don't mind.
Let's go.
In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful, strengthen me and guide me. Allow God to speak through me. Allow it to electrify the room and remove all dusty demons from the table. All praise is due. Amen. And amen.
So you getting up there?
All praises due to God.
Should men be expected to cover 100% of the bills?
I believe if men are claiming to be providers, and we know that means to take care of whoever's under you, that he should provide 100%. While we're doing this, this gives the woman time and space, not just to be great for the man, but also great for the children. And I want to use myself for example. I provide 100% for my woman. My son, he's only 5 years old, and he was tested 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. 2 days ago, he's only in kindergarten, but he tested at a 4th grade level. Why? My responsibility, providing isn't just financial. Any man off the street can walk to a woman and give her money. Providing is elevating a woman mentally, elevating a woman spiritually, emotionally. This is what it means to provide for a woman. Not just here's some money, run off with it. No. Let me elevate you. Let me bring you closer to your God. Let me set standards in your life. If your father gave you to me, you are my responsibility from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. I'm going to love everything about you 100%. And if I can't do that, I'm not a man. I'm a male. And that's a difference.
I want clarity before we move on.
Go ahead,
because when we talk about should men pay 100% of the bills, I'm assuming that means based on the context that you just gave.
It's based off of your circumstance and situation. Everyone is different, and nobody is a monolith.
My brother. No. So when you get into a relationship with a woman, you don't have to abandon her or drag her through your turmoils. All praise is completely due to the Most High. Go ahead, my brother.
You know what's so funny about that story? The part that he left out.
What's that?
Is that she hearkened to the voice of the serpent. And the man wasn't there to protect her. God was. They had everything. They didn't even know that she was naked. He made her because he said.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're done with the 100% of the bills. I guess they're not because it's still on the screen. But yeah, starting off with when he says, he was asked a question about 100% of the bills. Well, let's say this first. What's everybody doing today out there in the live world? Thanks for tuning in today. Those who are going to see it later on after it's already been, the live is already done. I'm the Vulcan. We got Enos who will be breaking down this video right here. I saw the debate a couple of days ago. I don't follow either one of these gentlemen that closely, but I have seen their faces. They're very familiar faces. I don't know enough about these guys to know if they're legitimate or not. Based off what I've heard today, they seem like pretty honorable men for the most part. I wanted to pick this video out because I heard a lot of fallacious reasoning in this conversation. And the reason why I want to focus on the fallacious reasoning of this conversation is because of the implications it has to people that listen to this. Because they're going to say a lot of things, particularly yada, 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 yada. You know, he's going to say a lot of things that sound good to the ear, and some things actually are really good and very honorable. But a lot of this stuff is red herrings, shifting the people's focus from what the question was to what he really wants to emphasize, and I guess where he feels more comfortable, what he traffics in. So we're going to look at this and try to detect the sophistry in this as a group. I'm going to detect the sophistry in this. All of it's not bad. We all know we got to eat the meat and spit out the bone. So starting in the first thing I'm noticing in this video here, he's asked the question, should men pay 100% of the bills? How much of what he said was focused on the 100% of the bills? He said a lot of great things about a man that claims to be a provider. He should provide in more ways than just money. We all would agree with that. Most of us would agree with that, I would say. But is he going to prove that a man should pay 100%? Y'all got to look at why it's worded that way, 100%. You don't think that was done on accident? That was done on purpose. Whenever they were constructing the questions for this debate, they understand the different nuances in the conversation that could be had. If they would ask the question, should men pay the bills? Most people believe if you're living there, you should pay bills. So that's not a good enough question. Should men pay most of the bills? That could have been the question. It's 100% of the bills. It's going to be incumbent upon both of these people that's having this discussion to prove that a man should pay 100%. When I'm listening to Yada so far, I'm hearing him explain that a man should contribute. He should provide. But I haven't heard an argument for 100%. Maybe he's going to do that here later on. But so far, I haven't heard that at all. So 100% of the bills. And most of what he said was focused on what the definition of provider is from his understanding and what that entails. There's nothing wrong with giving your definition, but people who don't know you that well, they may need to know that things in order to be able to see where you're coming from and identify with your base. All right, we can continue there, Enos, unless you have anything. I can't hear you if you're talking.
No, sir. No, sir. Let's get right back into it, bro. All right.
Said that it wasn't good for man to be alone. And he didn't point to figure it out. He let him name every single thing that was in the garden. And the context matters. And this is what happens when you know your word. And the interesting part about it is the devil know parts of the Bible too.
Oh,
the devil know parts of the Bible too. So the serpent itself was able to beguile Eve because he understood what God told them not to do, not to eat from that tree, not to eat that fruit. And although she had all of the covering that she could ever want and need, there is no greater provider than God himself. And you know what she did? She was disobedient.
Beautiful. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 6. Adam was right next to Eve when the serpent gave her the fruit to eat. He was right next to her. Genesis, anybody, Genesis,
This guy's crazy.
chapter 1, listen to me. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 6. Can somebody read that for me?
What version?
I'm gonna pull that up. I'm gonna pull that up. Genesis.
What version?
Let's go King James just to keep it. Let's keep it King James just to keep it standard.
And Lano, can we pull that up? Can we pull that up, Lano? Is that possible?
We're no longer allowing men to walk us around circles and sound like they know what they're talking about.
Oh no, you know
Genesis, chapter 3, verse 1 through 6. Can somebody please read?
And listen, we're gonna pull that up. And listen, shout out to the chat. We're gonna pull that up. Genesis chapter 1 through 6. We got 3,300 people in the chat. That's between initiates, NDBA, and the bag chasers all going crazy tonight. And I dropped the poll, guys. We already got 1,200 people chimed in on that poll. Who will win tonight's debate is already getting heated. Should men pay 100% of the bills? And it's funny because it's 52% to 48%. So pretty much it's 50-50.
We got comments. Shout out to Lawrence. That man is a character and he don't believe the stuff he's saying. Shout out to Lawrence. Thank you for tuning in, bro.
My guy, El Boogie, hold up, baby.
Yes, sir.
After you read this, I'm gonna break down the generational curse. This brother didn't know what he was talking about.
Okay,
Well, let's do this.
Let's send that link to Lano. Send that link to Lano. So I'm going to pull that up.
Let's go ahead. Yo, my mic.
So I don't know how much I want to let them to finish the actual conversation about the book of Genesis and what it says about Adam and Eve, and was he there with her when she was speaking to Satan or the snake and eating the fruit. So when it comes to this conversation, it's going to be a toss-up. So my personal belief about the topic is that Adam was not there whenever that conversation was being had. the way the story basically goes, and they belabor the point to some extent and somewhat elucidate on the topic, but they say, that the Satan, the serpent is speaking with her, talks about like, if you eat this, you'll be like God. Was Adam there for this part? I would say no. But the text does say later on about also her being with Adam. This could be a chronological thing, a sequential thing, where it's possible, given the grammar of the text, that she spoke with the serpent, and then she went and got Adam when she went to eat the fruit. It's possible that based off the wording, it could be either one. Jewish tradition, Adam was there. For most of Jewish tradition, if you read a lot of Jewish writers that talk about this, they believe Adam was there. According to the grammar of the text, you can read it either way. So those are the two prevalent options, which is that he wasn't there for the conversation, but he was there after the fact. And the grammar gives room for that. You don't have to be married to one particular interpretation or the other. There's a third option, which is that he was in the vicinity, but he wasn't all the way there. And so that's a third one. But most people don't really hold to that one as much. So in this one right here, I don't really see it being that big of a deal. It's not even really pertinent to his point. He could be right or wrong about this topic and still be right about his main point. So he doesn't need to be right about this point. That's what's important when you're listening to somebody communicate. Just because somebody is right or wrong about one of their premises, meaning what some of the proofs they're using to affirm their conclusion, to prove the evidence they're using to prove their conclusion, just because that's incorrect doesn't necessarily mean that they're correct in their conclusion. And so we got to take that in consideration. Even if he's wrong about the point about Adam being there or not, doesn't mean that his conclusion that he's making about the man having to provide 100% is not true. Now, the thing is, what do the two have to do with each other? Maybe by extension, he's trying to make a point. We'll see if he develops it more here. So we can continue.
So good.
Your mic is good.
Good.
Can you
Make sure y'all get y'all hardly initiated cards. All right. My mic is
now,
like
Genesis chapter 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall y'all touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil.
That's correct.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
With her.
That
Read
does
that
not,
again.
no, that's not what it means.
Read that
That's
again,
not
please.
what it means.
Read that again, please.
That's not what it means.
Let me read it one more time. Let me read this one more
That's
time.
not what it means, and you know better.
Now, from Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 6.
He just read it.
Listen to me, please, man. I speak. That's
You're
feminine,
right. I'm
brother.
sorry.
I
You're right.
appreciate you so much. Genesis chapter 3. You read
1
it.
through 6.
Yes,
1
sir.
through 6,
that
right?
was 1 through
Yep.
6. Yes, sir.
Did it say that Eve walked down the street?
No.
Did it say she ran around the corner? She said she gave it to her husband that was right next to her, meaning
It didn't say right
brother,
next to her.
brother that was
you
with her.
pervert
Brother,
the word
brother,
of God.
Can we read it
You
one
per-
more time? It's on
you-
the screen.
he didn't say
Can
he
we
was right
place it
next to her.
again?
And
Can we
gave-
place?
He said
hold on.
that she
Antoine,
talked to the serpent by
brother.
herself.
One minute,
He
brother.
Yeah, this is like an argument from ignorance. Just because he says, does the text say that she walked down the street? The text doesn't. That's not the way you would do what we would call exegesis when it comes to interpreting the text. In a study of hermeneutics, there's a process to interpreting the text. Same thing in any kind of written language, whether you're interpreting, a book that you're reading for school or at home for leisure and pleasure. There's a science to interpretation. And in theology, we call it hermeneutics. It can be called exegesis as opposed to eisegesis. Exegesis, when you're thinking about an exit, exegesis to pull something out of something, exegesis to pull the meaning out of the text. Eisegesis is to put a meaning into the text. So Anton is accused of eisegesis. And we can pull that up right there. And yada is yada, yada, yada-ing, and he's putting, thinks he's exegeting the text. Am I reading that out? Because I can't read that if I'm reading that out. Am I reading or are you reading? Well, I guess the audience can read it then because I can't hear you. But
sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that. Oh. Sorry about that. The definition, this is in the Webster Dictionary. Explanation, especially an explanation of critical interpretation of a text. That's the definition. Exegesis. All right.
So he's what you want to do when you're interpreting any kind of text, you want to exegete, meaning that you're going to look for the meaning in the text. So to say, did it say this? Did it not say that? It doesn't have to say that for it to be within the framework of the context. Meaning, some people can leave certain details out that may be implied. Like it can say in there, I can be like, yes, I was talking to the lady at the register, and I got my Kit Kats and my apple. And then somebody later on might be like, did it say he went to the store? Did it say he went to the store? No, but there's a necessary inference that if I'm talking to somebody at the cash register, everything, it may be reasonable to imply that it's to assume, that I'm at a store. So just because it doesn't say that she walked over to him does not mean that it's not a reasonable inference that she could have went to him. Now, the thing is, the text doesn't say one way or the other. It does say that they were together at some point in time. The sequence of events is unclear. Again, Jewish traditionalists tend to believe that they were together. When you read the text itself, just grammatically speaking, it could be either way. So there's two prevalent views on that topic, and a third view, which is that he was in the vicinity. So you can pick whatever, you pick your poison. Again, for those of us who want to be logical and reasonable, it's important to note that you don't have to pick or choose one of these in order to be able to have a perspective on 100% of the bills being paid by the man or not. You don't have to have that. He picked this point to make his case, and I don't think it's the best point to make. It's a good point when you're trying to talk about, if you're talking about, the male and female dynamics when it comes to relationships. It can be significant for that, but it's not so significant. We're talking about, should a man pay 100% of the bills? We can keep going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to read the examples, so people can have a better understanding. Eisegesis versus exegesis. The example for eisegesis, I think that's Joel Osteen. You are worthy of God's love. God wants to make your life what you want it to be. Your happiness is the most important thing. That's an example for eisegesis. Example for exegesis. God called the light of day, the darkness he called night. So in the evening, and the morning was the first day. Hilarious, man. And for the audience, sometimes when you want to get familiar with a definition, it's always good to look at some of these images, some pictures to help you understand some of these terms a little better. But we can go ahead and get right back into the video. Here we go.
It's not there,
brother. 1 minute, brother.
So check
please.
it out. I got it. It says, and gave also. She took
brother.
She took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her.
So you're going to ignore also
with her.
You're going to ignore also.
Can you read it again? Because some I don't know.
I didn't see anywhere. I didn't see anywhere in that. Where'd you learn your English? Where it said that. Okay, Adam was there while she was having a conversation.
I understand you don't like to be proven wrong. I got you.
We gotta have one mic.
I didn't see that.
We gotta have one mic, guys, just so because we gotta
finish. Thank you so much.
We gotta
so
get
let's get it. So
this.
Genesis 1 through 6.
Right. First, I want to say, Antoine, I love you. And I'm glad that you came here to speak with me today. We don't have to get emotional, over talk, yell. It's not about proving points, bro. We're going to show facts. That's it. You said talking points, right? You said we couldn't go into context. Now, as we see, when a man leaves a woman unprotected, she doesn't just get hurt. Her family beneath her gets hurt. Now we're going to step into what the brother was talking about, generational curses. The generational curse fell on the sons. You okay, brother? I thought you were having a seizure. Your neck was moving a little bit. You okay?
I'm listening.
Just making sure you're okay.
Because you're doing the Kamala
Brother,
Harris.
no, brother,
But
please, brother. Thank you so much. I love you, brother, really. When Adam and Eve, Adam is the head over woman. God is the head over man. When Adam ate, God came to him, and I'll give you a check if you want to, because I know I like to go back, and this is what I do. He ate other fruit. Like the brother said, he was naked. God came to him and said, why are you hiding? He said, I'm naked. He said, who told you you're naked? Yes or no? You agree with that part? Thank you so much for agreeing. He then asked him, who told you you were naked? He said, the woman that you gave me the fruit and I ate. He took no responsibility over that woman. Now this turns into a generational curse, which goes down to Cain and Abel. When a man leaves a woman unprotected, we're going to see death in high numbers as we do right now. Detroit, Chicago, New York, they're even rapping about it, calling it drill music. But if young men had fathers in their lives that could elevate them, love their mothers, appreciate their mothers, guide their mothers, because when a man loves a woman, the children will be protected. But when a woman has to pick up the slack of a man and become a man, more masculine in her approach with her sons, the boy turns into something other than himself. And now we're seeing murder at high numbers. We're still going through the sins of Adam not being a provider and a teacher. Because
hold on, we got more comments. Come on, help the bear. What's up, my guy? Got the hand emojis, fellas. What's up, man? Good to see you, bro. Right back.
Yeah, well, you got to pause right there. Shout out to Help the Bear. So yeah, while we got to pause right here, one of the things I want to say about what he's saying is this guy Yada is, like I always say, yada yada yada. But one thing that he's doing that's really important is that he is doing what's called an appeal to emotion fallacy. Most of the points that he's making are true points. I want everybody to hear that in the audience. He's talking about, when a man's not present, crime increases. A lot of the ailments we have in our society, specifically we're talking within the Black context where it's more rampant than other places. You see a lot of crime, you see a lot of poverty, you see a lot of teen pregnancy, you see a lot of illiteracy, high illiteracy rates, you see poor health and hygiene. You're going to see a lot of different things like that. And a lot of it has to do with single parent homes. Make no mistake about that. Yada's correct about that. But again, audience, listen. That is not directly correlated to man providing 100%. What if it could be 90%? It could be 80%. It could be 70%. It could be 60%. It could be 50%. A man can be present and be contributing 40%, and the kids be just fine. What he's saying is a man being present in the home. It doesn't have to do with how much he's providing or not providing financially, specifically, which the question is about. And by extension, he's taking it to providing to mean all these other things. But the question is just about 100% providing financially. So again, this is a distraction from the question. He's appealing to your emotions because he's saying so many things that we all feel very passionate about. We know these things affect our communities in very real ways. But again, the question was about 100% providing, not 99%, not 80%, not 70%. All right, we're gonna go to appeal to emotion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appeal to the emotion. Description. This is a general category of many fallacies that use emotion in place of reason in order to attempt to win the argument. It is a type of manipulation used in place of valid logic. There are 7. Oh, we want to. Hold on for a minute. All right, could you see that good? It's blurring on mine. So yeah, several emotional fallacy that I list separately in this book. This is an example, ladies and gentlemen, because they are widespread use. However, keep in mind that you can take any emotion, proceed with, appeal to, and you have created a new fallacy. But by definition, the emotion must be used in place of a valid reason for supporting the conclusion. Anything you want to add to it, bro?
No, I think that covered it pretty well. Again, he's appealing to our emotions, getting us wrapped up in the drill music for Chicago. What does drill music in Chicago have to do with a man providing 100% financially, which is what the question about? Mm-hmm. So again, he's getting us wrapped up in these emotional contexts and emotional aspects of the community instead of focus on the main question. He has yet to prove the 100% part yet. Again, that doesn't mean he's wrong. It just means he's using bad arguments so far. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying this guy's wrong. I'm saying he hasn't proved his point yet. And as an audience, we got to be listening for that. Has he proven his point? It's okay to agree with him. It's okay to believe what he's saying. It's okay to do that. But has he proved his point?
Man, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's read some more comments. What's up, Adams? Lawrence Lewis said, "Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Fine out there." Lawrence Lewis said Adam was in the garden, but not at the place where she got deceived.
Really good.
You said really good point.
That's a really good point. That's the counter argument for why traditionally, like the Protestant groups, don't really hold that Adam was there. Like I said, the Jewish traditional, view is that Adam was there, but most Protestants don't really hold to that, and that's part of the reason. Exactly like he said. I was going to give a practical example. I think the answer that Mr. Lewis gave is perfect, but I can be like he just says. We'll just use the one he says right here. You could be in the house. I could be like, hey, yeah, I was talking to so and so, and they were telling me that I should go ahead and get me a car. So I got me a car, and then my wife got a car too. Just because I said my wife got a car too, doesn't mean my wife was there. I could have got the car that day. She could have got the car the next day. I'm just leaving all that part out. And what Yada would say was, he didn't say that he drove home in a new car, picked his wife up, and then drove back over there and got her the car, which is what Yada was doing.
You sound just like what.
But I think the reality is, in my statement, it both could be true. She could have been there. She could have not been there. But going to theologically speaking, Adam was not attributed with that sin. But being deceived by the serpent, he wasn't attributed with that. His issue was the fact that he didn't protect his wife, and he also blamed it on. He also blamed it on his wife.
Wow! Shout out to Lawrence Lewis. Adam was in the garden, but not at the place where she got deceived. Like when we are it's like when we are in the house. She described it as like we are in the house, but not in the room. Here, how you can prove it. If Adam was there, God would have attributed the fault to him, but the fault was attributed to her. Shout out to Lawrence Lewis. Thank you for your comments. Lawrence Lewis also said he digs so many rabbit holes that it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Hey, shout out to Dr. A. Williams. Dr. A. Williams said, "Look who's back to give us more insight so we can engage in some critical thinking." Appreciate that.
Absolutely, back. And I want to speak to what Mr. Lewis just said here earlier. These are called red herrings, people. A red herring, just to give you the context of red herring fallacy, a red herring is something that's meant to distract you from the point. So I may ask my child, like, hey, look, did you take cookies out of that cookie jar? And they're like, you told me I couldn't have no cookies. Or they can say, I don't like those cookies. That's to distract me. If I get on a conversation they like cookies or not, or they'll tell them they couldn't have it, I'm off the topic of whether or not they took the cookies out of there or not. They could have took it and gave it to a friend if they didn't like the cookies. They could have took the cookies and ate the cookies because it was the only thing in the house, even if they don't prefer the cookies. A red herring is a smelly little fish so when dogs were trying to hunt something, a red herring is a smelly little fish that would get dogs off the track. The dog would start chasing the smell of the red herring as opposed to what they're supposed to be tracking. So when you're in a conversation with somebody, you listen to people communicate in discussion or debate, or you're listening to a lecture, which is one person communicating, and they make a claim about something, a statement about something. Be vigilant about red herrings, them getting you off the point, them distracting you in some kind of way so that you lose sight of what you're really supposed to be focusing on. That's what Mr. Yada 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 is doing here for us this evening. Let's get back into it, Enos.
Right. You called him Yachty. That's so hilarious. Can you hear me out there?
Yes, sir.
All right. I guess I wanted to go over more definitions just for the family, man.
Let's get into it.
All right. Red herring fallacy, the logical error of presenting irrelevant information to distract from the real issue. Vulcan definitely explained that very well. So, yeah, keep in mind of that, man. Be mindful of that, y'all. Let's get back into it. Wait a minute. The video. There we go. Pull this video back up while this is going on. Yes, sir. You can see the screen?
I don't see the. Oh, there we go. We're good.
All right, there we go. All right. Oh, one more comment before we move on to the video.
Hey, hold up, baby.
Lawrence Lewis said you can find that in Timothy 2nd chapter, verse 14.
1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 14. Appreciate you, my guy.
Yes, sir.
The provider isn't just financial. Providing is emotionally, mentally, spiritually, intellectually. This is what a provider is. And when a man's unable to do that, we see what's going on. Young girls not knowing how to choose a man, and men speaking down to women. This is what's going on. This is the sin of Adam, not the sin of Eve. But you men believe that.
You know, Adam was punished not for eating the fruit, but to hearkening unto the voice of the woman. That's why he don't understand. See, he'll move the goalposts and start talking about drill music and all of this other nonsense. That's not true. Let me tell you something. God punished her. He punished her first. He punished the woman. He didn't punish the man because of the woman. He punished the man for hearkening unto the voice of the woman. And that's the context. How can you sit there and say, because she wasn't provided for and protected, when at that time, before sin was committed, God was the provider and the protector? So did she sin against her husband or did she sin against God?
Good question.
Are you asking a question?
Yes, that's a question.
She sins in both.
Did she sin against her husband or did she sin against God?
Both.
Well, that would make you a hypocrite. That would make you contradictory because
how?
I'm gonna explain to you how.
Please.
Because you said that she wasn't provided and protected for.
Mm-hmm.
God had gave them everything that they could ever need.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to clarify, should that be the goal to pay 100%, or should that be the standard even prior to getting into a relationship?
Okay. You're
Let's
saying
go and pause it right
the
quick.
Goal or the standard? What do you mean? Break it down a little bit.
So you change.
I'm gonna try to be. I think you paused it. Yeah. So I'm trying to be more concise on this stuff because we got a lot to get into with this video. But he talks about. I want to first focus on what Anton said, which is moving the goalposts. Audience, this is another important term. I appreciate Anton. And again, when you listen to people speak and communicate between these two gentlemen right here, you got to think of who is focused on doing their best to have integrity in the conversation. When it comes to having conversations, there's rules to everything. There's a science to everything. When you're communicating and you're having a discussion, a debate, you want to make sure that you're having integrity, that you're staying on topic, that you're focused on what they're saying, you're listening to understand, not listening to speak. You want to make sure that you're using argumentation that's fair on both sides. You don't want to misunderstand people's points the best way you can. You don't want to straw man somebody's position. You want to steel man, meaning I want to accurately represent the strongest version of what you're saying, and I want to debate that. I want to combat that. I want to refute that. I don't want to take the weakest version of your argument and beat that, because that's me taking the weak way out. So that's one thing that you want to get into when it comes to having a good discussion, which you want to be watchful for. Now, he says moving the goalposts. Moving the goalposts for the audience there. I don't know if we're going to pull that one up. Oh, you got it pulled up here. Let's go ahead and read that one then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's gonna make it bigger for our viewers can see. Moving the goalpost description, demanding from an opponent that he or she address more and more points after the initial counter argument has been satisfied, refusing to concede or accept the opponent's argument. I guess one of the examples I can do right quick, it says, Ken, there has to be an objective morality because otherwise terms like right or wrong would be meaningless since they have no foundation for comparison. Sir, that's it.
No, you got to read the example's not done yet.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Appreciate that. Rob, okay.
This is going to be a long example. You sure you want to read this one?
No, I'm not sure. Oh, no, I'm sure I don't want to read it. I'm sure.
Yeah. But I think people, for the most part, get the moving the goalposts. So what he's saying is what we've been talking about this whole time. The red herring, all that stuff, is the argument is about should a man provide 100% financially, which you see the host of the show remind them of here now, because they notice the guy's been distracted the whole time. Ladies, gentlemen, you got to notice this. This is not a fair debate in that sense. When somebody is doing that, that is a dishonest tactic. He's not being true to what the conversation is about. Imagine you having a conversation with somebody you really need to have a conversation. It can be something about finance, it can be something about the children at school, whatever it is, and you're trying to have this conversation, and they're bringing up everything that's not relevant to what you're talking about. And they're thinking they're cooking. They're thinking they're spitting bars when they're really not. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be inefficient. It's going to be a waste of time. And you're going to have to feel like they don't really value your time in the way that they should. They're taking you for granted. They're not treating this in a way that's fair to you. He's doing that. Audience, you got to hear that. He's making a lot of good points about crime and drill music, which we all think is a problem in our communities and stuff like that. But at the same time, when is he going to actually address the main point? So the hosts are having to redirect him back to the main topic again to hopefully get him to address it this time. I'm ready.
Break it down a little bit for me.
So go ahead, Ty. Because I want to make sure we ask the same question.
Because I don't want to change the question. I want to make sure we're clear on the question. The question is simply, if we have a brother who is not ready to 100% provide at this point in his life and time, should he seriously be looking to pursue, marry, and build with a woman?
No. Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Or let me just add one more piece of context. Okay. Does it matter how old he is? How old is this guy that's asking this question? Because if you're 40, I think it's a completely different conversation.
Okay.
Than if you're 20.
Well let's say between 30 and 40.
Give me the context on the different age groups. You can wrap that all into your answer when you contextualize your response.
Let him articulate himself. Is very beautiful. But being well-traveled, I've seen men provide 100% without having so much. And like the brother said, long as they're staying within their standards, I don't think a man should get into a relationship with a woman until he knows he's able to handle all responsibilities by himself, just in case that woman leaves him. Because if you're in a relationship with a woman and you're living with a woman and she's paying half and you're paying half and she leaves you, what are you going to do? Lose everything you have, your car, your home? A man has to be able to provide for himself and another comfortably before he entertains a woman. But not just speaking on the financial part, a man needs to make sure he's spiritually whole, mentally whole, emotionally whole. Because if he's coming from America and coming from certain backgrounds, majority of the time they're scarred. Even if they were raised in home with two parents, they're scarred and they're battling some form of childhood trauma. And men, we get so caught up in our ego and our pride, we tend to bleed on the person that's right next to us, forgetting this person's on our team. Now we're stressed out because we can't pay the bills like we should. She's fussing at us. Now what we do, we drinking more, we smoking more, we're trying to run away from the truth. We're trying to run away from our children. Brothers, if you're listening to me and you didn't have the proper father in your life, please, I beg you, take care of yourself. Love yourself, Provide for yourself. Spend the first 5 years of your adulthood working on becoming the man that you need to be so you can get the woman you want and not the woman you settled for. Because a lot of men are getting into relationships with women they're settling for because they can't get the woman that they truly want. Now they're misusing this woman, abusing this woman. Children come, they leave this woman. Most men that leave women because they weren't properly good with them. They didn't love them. They couldn't connect to them on all levels. They got a woman that took them at the level which they were on, and a woman that they truly wanted, they're not going to look at them. So all I'm saying to my brothers, and I love what Antoine, I don't disagree when he said family is business. No, man, I for sure, it's business. But brothers, please take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, financially. Make sure you're talking to counselors. Make sure you're dealing with childhood trauma, especially if you were raised in homes with abusive fathers, either verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, or physically abusive, or you didn't have a father whatsoever. Spend this time in your adulthood loving on yourself, protecting yourself, leading yourself, and guiding yourself. So when you do find a woman that you love, you don't break her. Women can't endure what we endure. They can't do it. And when a man is building on the come up, we pour so much hurt onto our women because men get stressed out. When we trying to build, we get stressed out. To get to where me and Antoine's at, we put a lot of work in, and it came with a lot of pain. It wasn't peaches and creams and kumbayas. It's, I got to figure this out. Oh, what's going on? And sometimes the woman right next to us gets this attitude, gets this aggression, not because we don't love them, but they're right next to us. So we're bleeding on them without meaning to. And we're blessed to have women, because I believe your wife was with you on your come up, right?
Absolutely. I've known her since high school.
They were able to endure the men till we got to this level, because I wasn't this man 10, 20 years ago, but I had to go through so much to become this man, from trial and error. And I'm just blessed to have a woman that was able to endure it. A lot of women don't have the endurance for that. And a man should never bleed on his woman if he says he loves her. Brothers, please heal yourselves first, and then get into a relationship with a woman.
There you have
it. I'm the first multi-millionaire in my family, and I'm the first to take care of my whole family by myself. Every member of my family I provide for. So, brother, yes, it coming from where I come from, majority of the people in my neighborhood were either raised by their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunties. So when the brother is speaking, and I know he said he was raised in a household with his mother and his father, man, I salute that.
Oh, so you have studied?
No.
Because I didn't say that today.
No, we last had an interview when you came on the what was that?
The virtual.
So, audience, when we're listening to this, if we're being Vulcans, we're being Bereans, we're using our minds, we're thinking critical, we're being reasonable, we got to ask ourselves this question. Did he prove what he was trying to prove? Did he prove it? No, he didn't. He hasn't proven his point. Does that make him wrong? No. But he's yet to prove his point still. He doesn't get any points for that. You got to prove your point. He hasn't done that. So he talks about he traveled and he saw that most men are able to provide. I don't know if he mentioned 100% or not in other places. Most places in the world are very poor. They're very impoverished. So people are barely able to provide for themselves. This guy's going to say later on, if I believe, that a man shouldn't even deal with a woman until he has like $300,000 in his bank account, which only between 4 to 6% of the population has that kind of money in their bank account. So ladies, if you're going to take this man's advice, gentlemen, if you're going to take this man's advice, then 90 to 95% of the population can't even do anything romantically. And think about the implications of that. That means you got to look at all of the past history in China and India, here in the Americas and Africa, everywhere else. Most of those people, according to what he's saying, shouldn't even have been coupling. They don't have the finance to do it. If you are of the Abrahamic faiths, Muslim, Christian, Jew, is that what you find in the text? You not see blessed are the poor? Do not don't poor people get married in the scriptures? Aren't most people poor in the scriptures and throughout human history? So what he's saying, and you're going to see here more when he gets into that part of it, he's not thinking about math. He's not thinking about numbers. He's not thinking about what's reasonable and rational. And again, most of the topics that he's brought up since he's been asked the question, again by the host, because he's been off topic, he hasn't addressed it yet. Just in case he leaves. One of his points was a man's got to be able to provide 100% just in case she leaves. Well, when men provide 100%, and she leaves, she gets 50%. So when she leaves, he's going to be financially devastated a lot of the time anyway. I think over, 80, 90% of the time when there's a divorce, the woman is the one who's financially benefiting from it. Mary J. Blige was the opposite situation. She had to pay some money, and that does happen. But that's very uncommon. That's the minority of situations. And you also want to notice, y'all, whenever you hear people talk like him or myself, even judge me by these same standards, when you hear me communicate, if you see me making a point based off the minority of the situations, that means I don't have a good argument. If I'm saying you should do this because people are doing this, people are doing that is like a small percentage of what everybody else is doing, that's probably not a good argument. He talks about, guys are smoking and drinking. Roughly, according to the studies that we have available, 8 to 11% of people smoke cigarettes or smoke anything else. If you just give the max number, you're looking at 20% of people that are smoking, 1 out of 5. So he's appealing to your emotion and creating this monster of a problem of people, guys are just bleeding on women and they're smoking and drinking and doing all that kind of stuff. That's not the average person. That's a minority of situations. So again, his tactics are dishonest. He does make some good points. I'm not saying all of his points are bad. You have to, as a Berean, you have to, as a Vulcan, you have to, as somebody who cares about truth and what's right and what's wrong, distinguish between times when he's right, times when you don't know if he's right because he hasn't proved his point yet. He hasn't given any valid reasoning to substantiate his claims. Another thing I wanted to cover was he talks about abusive fathers. Now, I have no problem with that. I mean, obviously, we know abusive fathers exist. I'm seeing this video online, though, because my issue with topics like this, we should call out abusive fathers. We should bring awareness to abusive fathers. But we also got to keep in mind, again, we got to be thinkers. We got to be thinking about the information available to us. We have sociology. We have people that get paid money of all different demographics to study these various different topics, see what's really going on in our society, so we can arm ourselves with information. One thing we know that I remember seeing this video online about a lady. It was a big thing because I think a lady told her daughter that if you ever get lost somewhere, find a big black man. Well, why did they tell the daughter to find a big black man? Because statistically speaking, large black men are less likely to harm their child. So that's what a Caucasian person told their child to do. Also, we know that statistically speaking, women are a lot more likely to abuse children than men are. Does that mean men aren't abusive? It doesn't mean that at all. What it means that statistically speaking, women are a lot more likely to abuse children. So when we talk about men being abusive fathers, again, it's not wrong in saying that, but I don't want the audience to be misled into thinking that this is what's more common. It's a lot more common for a lady to be abusive, statistically speaking. I don't know if we covered that part all the way, but I do want to say this, or maybe I should say this. Yeah, I'll save this part because I think he's going to talk about this a little bit later on. He said women can't endure what we do. Ladies, y'all believe that? You can't endure what men endure? To me, it depends on the context. Scripturally speaking, the Bible would say that women are the weaker vessel. But just because a woman can't endure what a man can endure, is that proof that a man has to pay 100% of the bills, which is the original topic, which he hasn't really addressed yet? We all agree that men should provide in many ways, not just financially, spiritually, economically, all kinds of different ways. But 100%. Read the question on the screen. 100%. Don't lose sight of that with his red herrings and his goalpost moving. Audience, I need you here with me. I need we focus on this. This is how we arm ourselves and those we love and care about, our children, so they're not beguiled by and hoodwinked by people on the internet with their eloquence of words or their bombastic, charming nature. We need to arm ourselves with reason and logic and critical thinking skills. Talk about being raised by mom. That's a problem in our community. Statistically speaking, being raised by a single father is about just as good as being raised by a two-parent home. But a lot of the issues in our community are linked to single women raising children. So that is a problem that needs to be addressed. It's particularly high in the African American community, but we're seeing this on the uptick in all communities, in the Western world specifically. And when you think about that, about the financial part of it all, why this is not working, because in most of the poor countries, they have very low divorce rates. The father and the mother is always in the house. The places where you're seeing the women and the men not being together the most is the most affluent countries. Here in America, the UK, places like that. That's where you're seeing the highest rates of divorce and single moms, or people not even getting married and having, bastard children, if maybe not be politically correct to say, but that's what you're seeing it the most. So again, it's 100% providing, linking it to all the different issues we're seeing in our different communities. That's a weak correlation there. Go to the poor place in the world. Think about our slave ancestors. They had high marriage rates. Blacks coming out of slavery had very high marriage rates, higher than their white counterparts.
Yes, sir.
And they were broke.
So
the correlation between money and family structure, there is some correlation between money and having strong family structure in other ways, education, access to resources, good diet, things of that nature. But just saying that the question being 100% providing financially, and him talking about men smoking and drinking and, the single moms and abusive fathers, that correlation is very weak, because all we got to do is look at different communities and different cultures around the world, and we see that the poor people tend to have the strongest families. I'm done on that point. Anything you want to say, Enos?
Yeah, I got a quick question I want to ask you. Do you think that the guys that's able to save $300,000 or guys that's making over $100,000, do you think with his teachings that he's actually put a target on those guys' back?
What kind of target? By the government? By the tax bureau? Who?
All guys that's not making that kind of money. Alarming women to focus on those guys that's able to provide for them in that way.
I mean, maybe to a small extent. I mean, historically speaking, we all know there's been a lot of studies on this topic. One of the number one markers for attractiveness of a woman to a man is his perceived affluence.
Okay.
Historically, women have always been hypergamous, and generally speaking, women go towards men with resources. Not all women. There's other factors that play a part in that. Looks, height, access to them, all kind of different things that go into that. But generally speaking, that's already a major focus. That's well known. I mean, they have sites for sugar daddies and all this other kind of stuff going on in our society. It's well known. You go throughout history with the emperors and the kings. That's always been a thing. Ladies tend to gravitate towards resources. It's just the way it is. So I don't think it's necessarily putting a target on their back. I mean, maybe to some extent it is, because he is bringing awareness to it and talking about it and saying that's what should be done. But I don't think it's that significant. One thing I want to say in your question, though, is a man making $100,000 a year and a man having $300,000 in his bank account is two totally different things.
Yes, sir.
Men that make $100,000 a year may never have $300,000 in the bank account.
Absolutely.
So why the taxes? That's 100,000 is what, 75, 80,000, whatever it is, depending upon how you do your taxes and how you get your money. It could take you 20, 30 years to get 300,000 in your bank account. You got to combine that with your 401k and the house you bought and all the different other ways you're building wealth to be able to sustain yourself during retirement. But somebody making 100,000, somebody having 300,000 in their bank, worlds apart. Again, between 4 to 8% between 4 to 8% of people have that kind of money in their bank account. Yeah. That means and for those of us who aren't the best at math, we've got 100 people in the room, 100 folks in the room. 4 to to 8 max. And that's a high 8 max. That's not even really realistic.
And that's just the people that's in America.
Yeah.
Because you got to think people that's making what 30 to 40,000, they consider rich compared to the rest of people in the world.
Exactly, and that's a good point too. I think if you're making between $30,000 to $40,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world. Wow. So Yada mentions earlier that he travels and seen this stuff right here. If you make this a global thing, is his advice just for Americans or people in the Western world? The advice that Anton is giving applies across the board in every community, in every society in the world. I need the audience to hear this. What Yada is saying only applies to the Western world, because I said 4 to 8%, and that's just in America. If you were to take 100 people randomly in the world and put them in a room, less than one person would have 300,000 in the bank account. Less than one person. Why would somebody give advice to people indiscriminately off the internet that only really would apply to less than 1% of the people in the world?
Wow.
Does he have your best interest at heart? You got to ask yourself that question. Does he have your best interest at heart? Let's get back to it.
See, too, and I also want to add too, and you said this earlier, and that was I'm glad you said this. Especially when you have platforms like this, when guys are debating a lot of these gender dynamics, because we're in a space where people, both sexes are trying to figure out what are their roles in relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And when you engage in these type of discussions, there are rules to engagement, and that's why on this show, on this platform, we advocate people to harvest, the intellectual virtues. Mm-hmm. So keep integrity. Sorry, I had surgery in my mouth, so certain words I can pronounce. But integrity, and also be committed to truth. So that says a lot about a person when they participate in these discussions. Anything you want to say before we start?
No, sir. Let's get back to it.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that. You mentioned that. I just don't forget. I love you, brother.
No, that's dope. I'm glad that you paid attention.
That was beautiful, because I was like, wow, that's amazing to see a black man say he had his mother and his father. But coming from where I come from, that's not the norm. So the men he's speaking to and the men I'm speaking to the majority. You're speaking to men that's coming out of households with fathers and mothers. I'm speaking to men that literally had to teach themselves how to be men, how to urinate. Shake it once, shake it 3 times, you're playing with it. There's no man guiding a man and telling a man to do that. So I'm telling the brothers that's coming from where I'm coming from, brothers, heal. Your father, he might have been going through some things. You don't know. Heal. If your mother was abusive, because it happens. It does happen. Heal. That's the topic, brother. Heal. Heal yourself before you entertain a woman, or you will bleed on everybody. Because it's hard when you finally meet a woman that loves you and you're just gushing out blood, past relationships, mommy issues, daddy issues, sibling issues. So I just want to tell the young brothers again and the older men, heal. Put the pride, put the ego down and heal. Regardless if it's mommy issues or daddy issues or daddy issues, mommy issues, or both. We have to heal as men so we can become the fathers that we never seen or had. Regardless if we had fathers in our lives, we should become better versions of them. And if we didn't have fathers in our lives, we should strive to do for our children what no man has done for us. And again, I give all praises due to the Most High. The reason why I speak to men, and this has to be highly important. I need my beautiful brother to hear this, and all the other men hear this. If we claim to be leaders, I'm going to speak to the man that's claiming he's the head. I'm not going to the woman if you're saying you're the leader or you're the head of the household. I'm saying, brother, if you want to move a certain way, do this. If your woman is upset, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. If you're the leader, we can't make excuses. I can't go to my woman like, oh, you're responsible for this, that, and the third. No, what's wrong with my own leadership? Am I doing something wrong? Am I misguiding something? Am I bleeding on something? Am I taking something for granted? As a man, if we're saying that we are leaders, we have to lead at all times and not just when things are good, even when things are bad.
Speak to the context of what I just said, though.
What are you talking about, brother?
About solving for the problems in the culture. It's not just one way. See, and this is what I'm saying, that when we get to a certain point, people start to expose themselves the longer that they talk, because they only have a one-track mind. They only can speak to one demographic, because that's not the minority. It's easy to pander, but it's much more difficult to solve for a problem. If I identify the problem as the majority of women are having sex with a minority of the men and getting pregnant out of wedlock, why are we not speaking to that? Why can't we solve for that? He's speaking about something of a man that's already in a position, or a man that's already, in a sense, solved for the problems that he had in his childhood. That's not entirely
That's not who I'm speaking to, brother.
Hold on. That's not entirely what we're talking about. I'm talking about getting people to the starting point.
Right.
That's almost like being in debt and telling somebody how to become a millionaire.
And we just did that.
We
men,
because you
take
never
care of yourself before you get into a relationship. That's the beginning of everything.
The majority of your audience is women. Why are you speaking to men?
70% of my audience are men.
Lies. That is a lie, bro. The majority of the women that was in the chat before we even started this live stream was women that was saying whatever your slogan was, brother, those were women.
Because if you have women, listen to me, and I need this to be understood. If we're speaking on women and only men agree with me, I'm the wrong leader. If I'm speaking on women and the women agree, shouldn't the men listen to that?
No, because we don't hearken to the voice of a woman. That's the whole reason why we get in this situation from Adam and Eve.
Brother,
no. You asked a question and I answered you.
Are women?
I don't listen to women.
Brother.
I listen to God.
Brother.
I take my guidance from God. I don't listen to women.
Brother.
It's straight from the top.
The man.
It's God over man, man over woman, woman over child.
Right.
I take into consideration what she says, but I don't hearken unto the voice of a woman.
Brother, like you just said, you have God, man, woman. God pours into man, man pours into woman. If I'm pouring into my woman the voice of God, God is going to speak through my woman. My woman is not beneath me. My woman is my equal. My woman is not beneath me. My woman is my equal.
What you got in that?
She's my other eyes, my other ears, my other brain, my other feet, my other hands. And brothers, those that want to gain wealth, love your women, put your women in position and trust them. If you're saying that's your woman.
Why you change?
But what I would say to me, and from what I see is, when a man is able to properly lead, properly provide, help this woman reach her best version, heal from past trauma and pain, she becomes submissive. I don't care what her background is. I don't care if her mommy was there, her daddy wasn't there. I don't care what's going on.
Because, yeah, he's about to go into, like, another topic that we'll have to cover here shortly. But, yeah, so some of the things that he brought up, he talks about you're responsible, men being responsible and making excuses. And he said you can't go to your lady and say you're being responsible. He talks about because men can't make excuses. But delegating responsibility to somebody is not making excuses. You can't say, and that's where he's kind of all over the place, the yada, yada, yada again. He says women can't endure what men endure. Then he says she's not beneath me. She's next to me. But then he says you can't give her any responsibility. Just you have to handle 100% of the responsibilities. But at the same time, she's his trusted advisor. He heeds her words. All this stuff is just a smorgasbord or just a hodgepodge of all kind of different stuff going on that's contradictory. So we got to recognize who we're listening to here. This is a man who's not being clear on what his point is. This is a guy who's saying, the Bible call it being double-minded. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so that's what this guy is doing right here. He's saying things that are very contradictory. Now, I want to speak to, I think I covered the responsible part. Majority audience women, that's not really relevant. From a logical standpoint, whether Anton or Yada's audience is majority women or not, it does have nothing to do with what they're saying is true or not. Somebody can have a majority male audience, majority female audience, all male, all female, and that doesn't mean what they're saying is true or not true. Just like TV shows have a majority female audience, majority male audience, whatever the case may be. Books, writers have a majority male. It doesn't mean their books are true or false, whatever the case may be. Women and men tend to gravitate towards different types of things, and they gravitate towards the same things in other areas. But that doesn't mean you can't learn anything from it. Doesn't mean you can't look at it and say, okay, why is this the case? If you have women majority gravitating towards this message or men majority gravitating towards the message, why is that happening? Is he pandering to them? Is he saying things they want to hear? Those are good questions to ask. And I think that's what Anton's alluding to here. But just for the record, on a logical standpoint, that is not any indication that they're right or they're wrong. But it can be indicative or a symptom of somebody who is pandering to a certain audience base. To give two scriptures that really eloquently sum up this point, one would say, in Proverbs it says, a rebuking tongue will receive more honor than a flattering tongue. A rebuking tongue will receive more honor than a flattering tongue. And the other one would say, open rebuke is better than hidden love. Open rebuke is better than hidden love. So I want the audience to hear the fact that just because somebody makes you feel good, they say things that tickle your ears, doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, so the proverb. Keep in mind that sometimes the people that love you the most are the ones that hurt you because they say things that don't feel good to your ego, but they make you a better person. This guy, Yada, hasn't said anything to hold women accountable. And also, I haven't heard Anton really say anything to hold men accountable. But the funny thing about me bringing that up is it's not the topic of the discussion. The topic of the discussion is should men pay 100% of the bills? And they're not discussing that right now. So I'm not going to knock Yada or Anton for that point because not even on the topic of the discussion right now. I think Anton's just taking it wherever Yada goes because he realized Yada's all over the place. So we're going to still have the show and try to get the most out of it and bring entertainment and information to the audience. I might have addressed a lot of the erroneous things that he's saying and just let him take it where he's going to go. I think the host probably gave up on trying to redirect Yada at this point. So let me see what else I got here. Should we listen to the woman? Yeah, of course. I mean, you see it in the Bible and, queens advising their young prince. One of the king's, one of his strongest advisors is his queen. Same thing goes for just men in general. They're a helpmate to us. They see things we don't see. Women have a lot of skills. Women have a lot of talents. They've done studies on these topics. Even when it comes to leadership skills, they've done studies on women and men leadership skills. They've done, I think one of them was like 19 categories of leadership, and the women outperformed the men in 17 of the 19 categories. Now, I didn't look too deeply to see what those categories were, but just a random study talks about how women outperform the men in 17 of the 19 categories, if I remember correctly. The two that the men outperform the women is things that I would think somebody who understands how the world works and what's going on around them would assume that men would outperform the women. One of them was strategy, and the other one was confidence, if I remember correctly. But whether those are true or not, my point is just saying women have a lot of talents, a lot of skills that they bring to the table to be a good helpmate for the men. Now, when he says a woman is not beneath me, she's on my side, it's difficult to say, they can't handle the responsibility of their break. That men are bleeding on these women. That women can't endure what the men are enduring, and then say she's on my side. He gives the order: God, man, woman, children, which is a hierarchy, but it says she's not beneath me. So he's using a lot of wording that's against sophistry, contradictory. He's all over the place, and I want the audience to hear that he's all over the place. If he means by the woman is not beneath me in the sense of her intrinsic value as a human being is on the same level as a man, that's true. And according to the Bible, in heaven there will be no male and female. They'll be like the angels, right? So in that sense, we all are equal in that way. If he means in the hierarchy of the family structure or even in society, then that's not necessarily true. So, but this ambiguity in what he's saying is meant to not offend his base from what I'm gathering from it, and at the same time still trying to in some way acknowledge truth. He knows the hierarchy that's given in the scriptures, which is what they're referencing. He gets the fact that women are considered the weaker vessel and they need to be protected and to be provided for in a lot of different ways. He gets that, but he also acknowledging their strength. So I can say that about Yada, that he is doing a decent job of acknowledging the different truths there. But he tries to put it all together to make it a cohesive idea and philosophy about the family structure, about the male and women, the male and female dynamic. He's not able to put that together in a coherent way. And so the audience is going to be confused if they take him at his word. That's all I got. Anything you got?
Yeah, just to comment on Antoine. When Antoine said, "I don't listen to women," he listened to God. That is an appeal of authority. When he said that, I wanted to point that out. Although Antoine, I think he's doing a good job debating Yada. We like to be fair and point out he didn't use a fallacious argument right there. And the two capabilities, we talked about this in the past episode, the two capabilities that women that score higher than men was technical, professional expertise and strategic perspective, which those two capabilities is the reason why men tend to have are able to assert or move up the ranks in the job force and become managers and supervisors, because those two capabilities is what push them forward in the job market. Let's read some comments before we get to the video. Shout out to my guy CQ, man. 100.
CQ, what up, baby?
Man, appreciate you coming in, bro. All right. We'll get back to it. Let's get right into it.
When a woman steps into the presence of a man that walks with God's attributes. Beautiful. But what I would say, to me, and from what I say is, when a man is able to properly lead, properly provide, help this woman reach her best version, heal from past trauma and pain, she becomes submissive. I don't care what her background is. I don't care if her mommy was there, her daddy wasn't there. I don't care what's going on. When a woman steps into the presence of a man that walks with God's attributes, leading, guiding, protecting, this woman is going to naturally become submissive, because in her nature to be submissive. But she's been put through this man, father not being there, mother not showing her how to be a woman. So when a woman is guided and loved and protected, and I need these words to be heard, when she feels stable, safe, and secure, she's going to dwell in her femininity, and this is where the submissiveness comes from. If a man has to demand a woman to be submissive, he must look in the mirror at himself. Are you able to lead her properly? Are you able to guide her properly? Are you verbally, mentally, physically abusive? Are you able to make love to her mind? Or are you just able to make love to her body? When a man stands on truth and his foundation is God, the woman becomes submissive. I believe, in my opinion, that women stop being submissive because men forgot how to properly lead. Not just lead, but properly lead on each and every level. And I don't care if it's, the brother mentioned welfare or anything external. If it's inside the house and family is business, we have to look at the man running the business. How does she feel? Does she feel heard? Does she feel accepted? Does she feel stable and loved and secure? And the answer is yes, you'll see it by the fruit she bear. But if the answer is no, you're going to see it by the fruit she bears. So all a man has to do is step into the characteristics of God. And this is when you'll see the greatest version of your woman, because you became the greatest version of yourself, and your woman is a reflection of you. I'm talking about your woman, not some random woman you met off the street.
So just to be clear, does every woman have the ability to be submissive so every woman has this ability based upon how the man shows up?
And I want to go to scriptures because I'm sitting in front of this beautiful brother. when I got on saying God's name, all praises. But when Jesus,
Shout out. Let me read the comments. Shout out to Help the Bear. Help the Bear said, Cam and Mason look a bit different.
That's hilarious.
That's actually a good image, especially for
Yeah.
Yannick. I see it. I see you, Up the Bear. Good one.
Well, we can go ahead and keep it paused since we already paused it right now.
Sir.
So I'm gonna cover some of the stuff he says, and Yada brings up a lot of points, and some of these points are good points. But again, audience, think about this. Did he prove what he was saying? And does the Bible teach any of this stuff? And if the Bible does teach some of this stuff, which parts does it teach, which parts does it not teach? I want to say he talks about a man properly leading. And he also says in each and every way. Properly doesn't mean perfection. This when you get into what's called the nirvana fallacy. And remember, y'all, this is a show about being logical and reasonable. Those of us who have a respect for the scriptures, when it comes to being reasonable, we're commanded to be reasonable. Romans 12, be reasonable. So that's something that mandate from us. I want to say what we're doing right now in this reaction video is what the scripture says. The man who presents his case first seems right. Yada seems right. The man who presents his case first seems right. Until another comes and cross-examines him. That's what Anton does. That's what I'm doing here on this show. But we're both of them, but primarily Yada. And so we're going to be examining what he's saying to see what he said is true, what's not true. But going back to the nirvana fallacy situation, when he's saying that a man leading in each and every way, and also saying that a man properly leads, properly doesn't mean perfection. Well, what a lot of people will do in this particular fallacy is they'll say if you're not perfect, you're not doing it at all. And you'll see him do this also, too. It goes into what's called the no true Scotsman fallacy. I don't like throwing too many fallacies at one time, but the no true Scotsman fallacy is just a fallacy saying that if somebody, you invalidating somebody being something because of one thing they do. So no real man would do this. If you're a real man, this is what happened. Every real woman does this. So every real woman would submit if she has a good leader. If you're not leading in every way, you're not a leader. If you're not leading in every way, you're not properly a leader. Life is not that rigid. Think about your jobs. Think about your parenting. Think about your parents. Think about organizations that you're a part of at your church. People are imperfect and they lead. And what happens is when they make mistakes, true leaders, if you read the book From Good to Great by Jim Collins about great leaders, things are not going right, what can I do better? When things are going well, my team is doing great. So I must be doing a pretty good job as a leader if my team's doing right and we're accomplishing our goals. Leadership doesn't require perfection. People make mistakes. So the thing about what Yada is saying is he's creating these false dichotomies of either a real leader or you're not. When there's a whole gray area, people are imperfect. Maybe you're a level 2 leader, maybe you're a level 5 leader, maybe you're a level 10 leader. Think about it. If you're going to agree with what he's saying right now, you got to apply it to yourself. If you made a mistake as a mom, as a dad, as a supervisor, as an employee, are you just not any good now because you make a mistake? If you're not good in every single way, do you get time to grow and to develop? And so what Yada's painting it as, if you're not doing it every way, you're not a true leader. A real man is like this. A proper leader is like this. That's too exaggerated. It's too extreme. How many people really could handle that type of burden of performance? They got to be perfect in every kind of way. Is that what the message that Jesus left us? Absolutely not. So again, Yada comes across very passionate and patient and forgiving on one end, the lady's end. She needs healing. Help her heal. Help her do these various different things. But the man's got to lead properly in each and every way. He's got to do this, this, and this, and this. When he said earlier, I'm speaking of men who come from my background, which is a single parent home, that the mom or the dad might have been abusive. But that guy's got to lead in every single way properly. But the lady he can't bleed on the lady. And if he's not leading in every way properly, then he doesn't deserve her. Think about your sons. Think about your uncles. Think about your fathers. Think about your own husbands and whoever else you deal with. People have to recognize people are going to make mistakes and need to be improved in certain areas. So I wanted to cover that part right there. People do the right thing so the nirvana fallacy, again, is the fallacy of just saying if something's not perfect, it's not good. Something can be good without being perfect. We all know that. We all know that. Is he giving a perfect standard that the man has to live up to in order for him to be any good at all? To some extent, that's what we're hearing. It's a nirvana fallacy. He mentioned people do the right thing when she's healed. So she's going to naturally become submissive if he's the right leader. The trouble with this type of conversation, when I have these conversations with people in public or, at events or just private places and stuff like that, we're having these kind of conversations, not much thought and focus given to the nuance of conversation. You want to put the nirvana? You going to read that one? Well, I'll finish this point, then we can go to the nirvana fallacy here. So
take your time.
Before people get married, in theory, they want to see if they have similar values. They want to see if these people have the attributes to fit their respective roles. So a lady wants to know if the man's going to can be a leader. The man wants to know if the lady can be a follower. That starts at the first impression. So if a lady's not displaying submissive qualities at first impression, she may be ruling herself out. If a man's not showing leadership at first impression, he may be ruling himself out. Now, it's not going to be something that's going to be always magnified or easy to understand when you're dealing with a stranger. But ladies will make sure the guy's indecisive initially. He can't plan a date. These are things you hear women complain about with men. To them, that represents leadership qualities. If a man's like, hey, let's go here, and she's like, I don't go a place like that. He's looking at her like, she don't seem to have, I make up this term, fellowship qualities. So the reality of it is this: both people need to do this. This is before marriage. So this is before he's financially providing and healing and not bleeding and all this other stuff. This is, hey, I'm so-and-so, you're so-and-so. Ladies, don't be beguiled by his language. You can't wait on the man to show that you're a submissive person, that you could be led. You got to do that from second one, just like the man has to do. Go ahead, the nirvana fallacy.
Yeah, that's only fair. Nirvana fallacy is a type of informal logical fallacy that occurs when an argument or solution is dismissed or criticized because it's not perfect or does not meet an attainable, idealized standard. It involves comparing a realistic proposal or option unfavorably to idealized, flawless alternatives. Yes, sir. And you also mentioned the no true Scotsman fallacy.
I remember that because I forgot what I had said. I was like, what was the fallacy I said? I forgot it.
Don't worry, I got you, bro. I got you. So, no true Scotsman. Make sure you can see that on the screen. No true Scotsman. Description: when a universal (parentheses all, every, etc.) claim is refuted rather than conceded. The point of meaningful revising the claim. The claim is altered by going from universal to a specific and failing to give an objective criteria for the specificity. Yeah. Let's see. You want to add on to that?
No, just again, no true Scotsman fallacy. When somebody's saying, oh, he's not a real this, or they're not a real that, or to be a real that, you got to be this, or to be a real that, you got to be this. You want to be a real leader, you got to do these things, and you got to do it in every way. That's a burden of proof that nobody can bear. You think that Yada or myself or Enos or Anton is perfect? No. There's only one that was perfect. Man, but I covered all my notes. I want to cover what he said: leading improperly and abuse, and each and every level. Host asks again. So the host asks again. Keeps reminding him of the topic. Yada cannot stay on topic. It's yada, 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 off topic. And the host keeps having to redirect him back to the main topic again. Let's get back into it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Seen Mary Magdalene about to get stoned. When Jesus seen Mary Magdalene about to get stoned, he said, ye without sin cast the first stone. This one was a known prostitute. But the presence of him, the attributes he held of God, made this woman change her whole life. And after he was resurrected after 3 days, who's the first person he appeared to? Mary Magdalene. So if the man is leading and guiding and walking with the attributes of God, a prostitute can change her life. And the Bible also says, Jesus, everything I do, you can do, as long as you believe.
Said greater will you do. But
greater. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate
y'all
that.
brothers on the scripture, man. I'm proud of y'all.
Facts. So essentially, I'm actually shocked here because believe it or not, it's actually a lot of agreeing.
That's not his purpose. That may not even be his wife. But a lot of times we incentivize men to do so because we hearken unto the voices of women and what they want. That's not what we are supposed to do. When it comes to the whole idea of your wife, I believe that women often at times skip over the men that they were supposed to marry. And then they try to have a redemption arc. I believe that men often at times, they ignore the women that is supposed to be for them because they're too busy focused on these women that's for the streets, right? I believe that a lot of times your wife or the person that you're supposed to be with, and we talk about guys that's in the friend zone and stuff a lot of times, but you're supposed to marry your best friend. That's the person that has your best. That's the person that has your best interests at heart. That's the person that wants the best for you. That's the person that absolutely is going to be there through thick and thin. And all of the vows that you're going to take, they're already living it. They're a reflection of it. But so many times we're incentivized by the things that's around us, influenced by the things that's around us, especially when we have a young mind, and your mind is not even fully developed until you in your mid-20s. And so a lot of times we used to depend on our culture. We used to depend on our family to help us vet and see things that we couldn't see. But now we're choosing for ourselves. So I don't believe in dating. I believe that dating is just the gateway for you to find yourself in situations that you're not supposed to be in. And I believe that you know your wife very, very early. And a lot of times we skip over the person that we're supposed to be with.
So you know what? This is a difference here because you actually stated when you went to Angela Yee, the young lady was stating, because a lot of women ask this question too. They're like, look, I want to date multiple men. You know, that's like a big thing.
No, this is a sister saying she's already dated.
Yes, sir.
So I want to cover this thing before they go into his advice to that lady on the Angela Yee show.
You want to play the clip?
But I want to well, we can play the clip, but remember, I'm saying that I want to cover this before we get into that.
Okay, go ahead.
So, supposed to be with, Anton mentions who you're supposed to be with. The difficulty with something like that is that, you know, in the Bible, it never tells us who we're supposed to be with. We're given guidelines for picking a spouse and, you know, based off their character, primarily based off their character. In the Bible times, parents were picking the people for their kids a lot of times. They had certain rules that if, you know, you were married and your husband died in war, his brother had to give you a child and to honor the name of the fallen, you know, sibling. So they had pretty strict policies on how to maintain the family structure that we don't really have in our society today. I'm not advocating that we should or shouldn't have those things, but saying it's supposed to be with, that's a little bit strong. But I do think there's people that we should not be with because the Bible does tell us certain people we shouldn't be involved with. Evil communication corrupt good morals. You know, we're told we should be with people that live a certain type of lifestyle and have a certain view of God. Those are some of the parameters that we're given. You know, so you're supposed to be with people like that. But a specific person, the Bible never indicates that there's a certain person for everybody. Like, what do they call it? Your soulmate type of deal. I'm not saying you can't believe in a soulmate. You can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with believing in that. But the Bible never indicates that that's a real thing, that there's a soulmate, that somebody you're supposed to be with. I think Anton's broader point, and I do agree with his overall sentiment, because I believe what he's saying is just that a lot of us pass up on people that have our best interests, that can love us and have the right values for us for superficial reasons that we should not keep on moving, looking, and choose the wrong people and stay out in the game and dating and stuff like that. We could be off building our kingdoms and serving God and the way we need to serve God if we would have just go ahead and put our superficial preferences away. So I do agree with Anton in that sense, but the should in the sense of one particular person, you know, that's not necessarily backed up by the text. Family helping you vet, you know, there was arranged marriages, You know, there was kinsmen, redeemers. There was, like I said, it was very rigid in the Bible days, and for most in most places in the world to this day, it's still that way in a lot of ways. The families help you vet. Romeo and Juliet, I think that story had the family was involved with that. So I remember I had a friend of mine. He's from Angola, and he told me that when he first came over here to the Americas, he was dating some girl, and she brought him to her place, and he was looking for her dad. He was like, "Where's your dad?" She was like, "What?" He was like, "Well, y'all's dads don't have anything to do with this stuff." That was a shock, culture shock for him. So the dad wasn't involved in that way. So I just want to say that the families, he's right in saying the families who help vet. I think there's a lot of good evidence to suggest that if your parents picked your spouse for you, you'd be the divorce rate would probably be a lot lower, and we wouldn't have as many issues going into a relationship. The other thing he said is dating a good thing. So about dating has not always been around, as I'm pretty much what I've been saying this whole time. Dating is more of a modern thing. People, you know, but there's some good reason for why that is, that dating has arisen. Part of it was a Hallmark thing. In 1900s, dating became a thing. Early to mid 1900s, dating became a thing. But for most of human history, people just kind of picked people that were close to them. People didn't move like they do now. You know, now with modern technology, with trains and cars and, you know, airplanes and stuff like that, you can travel and find for a better job, to be closer to this, to if you like a certain culture more, you want to move over there, in which case you'll be around people you never around before. But for most of human history, people pretty much lived and died where they grew up. So you knew everybody in your community. So there wasn't the fear of the unknown in the same way that it is now. You're out somewhere and you meet somebody you never met before. You're worried about your safety, all these other things going into it. Your family's helped you vet because you have people in your family that were older than you, more experienced than you, that know the other family a lot better than you, knew the terrain of relationships dynamics better than you, and you really had to lean on them in that way. So that's what Anton is talking about for the most part. So anytime you're hearing a lot of these dating gurus speaking, whether it's me or anybody else who claims to be some kind of dating guru, not that I claim to be that, I understand this is more a modern thing, and there's no hard and fast rules when it comes to it. There's guidelines in the text. If you look at the Bible and maybe perhaps the Quran and the Old Testament and stuff like that, I'm sure all the books have some type of guidelines for it to some extent. But for the most part, people are kind of piecing these things together because in the Bible and the Quran, dating wasn't really a thing. Arranged marriage is the primary thing that you're going to see in there. So that being the case, when people are extrapolating from the text and inferring from the text what you can and can't do, just be thoughtful, be mindful, look for the sources, see where they're getting information from, because generally speaking, it's all assumptions and stuff like that, because again, it's not even in the text. They didn't exist at that time. They didn't exist in our great-great-grandparents' time either. So that's what I have to say about that. You know, so you got anything, or you want to get back to the vid? How far are we into it? Are we at least halfway through?
Check this out. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we actually halfway through, almost halfway through, about 30 minutes in.
Okay, so yeah, we'll go a little bit further. Are we still in the first question of the 100%? Well, yeah, we'll go a little bit further. We'll go a little longer.
Okay. All right, let's get to it.
I'm talking too fast.
I said, look, date them all until you find what's for you. I didn't say sleep with them all. I didn't say cook for them all. I didn't say do no wifely duties.
But you said you didn't believe in dating.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. This is a woman that asked me a question.
I know. I seen it.
Right. She said, I'm already dating 3 men. Date them all until you find what's good for you. So now, if you're already having sex, stop. I tell one more time, you're being a wife to a man that doesn't even deserve that.
Right.
You're cooking for a man that doesn't deserve that. And this is when I say, is he at least paying your bills? Because that's what a husband does. People are taking my words and putting their own remixes on them.
Let's go ahead and play that video they're referring to.
Okay.
with you, he's not gonna with you, he's not gonna last. He's gonna show because he's gonna move you on to the next one.
Okay.
Because you're pretty, so a lot of men will try to get you to sleep with you.
Well, how long do I have to do that before I can actually get, just
because clearly she wants some physical attention. Now, what if you would be like, you want to sleep with me? $50,000.
Fact. No, listen. In America, women been programmed.
let's say I'm at a bar.
Okay.
A man approaches me and he's like, I'd like to take you out to dinner.
Mm.
What am I? I'm just like, okay, that's 50,000.
Of course.
Just like that.
See, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Listen. In America, women been programmed a certain way. In these other countries, it's the norm.
Okay.
It's normal. Here, and then it's crazy because you have men that's willing to take care of you.
So you got to go to like Sweden or the Netherlands.
Where am I going? I was.
You got to go to
Europe
Europe somewhere. But I also feel like men are terrified of being used. Also, you know who's terrified of being used? The ones that ain't got it.
There we go.
But that's the ones that's always saying.
If a man can go to a strip club and blow 10 to 20,000 in a few hours.
I fast forward through the video and play it one more time, and we get
he's going to
back
show
the video.
because he's going to move you on to the next one.
Okay.
Because you're pretty, so a lot of men will try to get you to sleep with you.
So how long do I have to do that before I can actually get, just
because clearly she wants some physical attention. Now, what if you would be like, you want to sleep with me? $50,000.
Facts.
Because that's advice you would give, right?
Wow.
What would that conversation look like? What would that conversation look like? Like he asked you to dinner and then
it's funny. No, because I tell my sisters this. If a dude wants to date you, 50,000, 50,000 off
like
top.
in cash or
no, if they can't afford a payment plan, 50,000.
Okay.
And if they don't have it, you're dating in the wrong pool.
So let's run a scenario, right?
Let's get it.
Let's say I'm at a bar.
Okay.
A man approaches me and he's like, I'd like to take you out to dinner.
Mm.
What am I? I'm just like, okay, that's 50,000.
Of course.
Just like that.
See, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Listen. In America, women been programmed a certain way. In these other countries, it's the norm.
Okay.
It's normal. Here, and then it's crazy because you have men that's willing to take care of you.
So you got to go to like Sweden or the Netherlands.
Where am I going? I was.
You got to go to Europe somewhere. But I also feel like men are terrified of being used. Also, you know who's terrified of being used? The ones that ain't got it.
There we go.
But that's the ones that's always saying. If a
man can go to a strip club and blow 10 to 20,000 in a few hours, and you about to sleep with him, cook for him, iron his clothes, maybe clean his house, that's not worthy of you getting paid.
But most guys I know aren't going to spend $10,000 and $20,000 in a strip club. And if he is, I don't know that I want to be with somebody because I would be like, "What are you doing?" I know, Gigi. I mean, I've been there. Nice that that's happened. I've been there.
Yeah, I guess I can get the exact timestamp. We just go ahead and move on. I listened to it earlier. I just missed the timestamp. So for the sake of time, we just get back into the video.
Well, hold on. We gonna discuss that or no?
Yeah, we can.
You have anything you want to say? Or want me to jump into it?
No, you got it. You go ahead.
So I just took notes on like I've been doing the whole time, trying to take notes. Other countries, it's the norm. Mm-hmm. But again, audience, none of us are stupid. We all took social studies and world history, and we have even if you don't follow the news and you're not really big on what everybody else's business is, you to some extent somewhat of a pulse of the world. Poverty is a real thing. Again, if you make between $30,000 to $40,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of people in the world that have ever existed. So when he's saying that other countries is the norm, what he's doing is he's taking a very small minority of the countries and saying that it's women have been brainwashed over here, but it's a norm other places, which gives the impression it's a norm in most other places when that's not the case. No matter what country you pick, it's not going to be the norm. There's going to be a small percentage. America is one of the wealthiest places, and that's not the case. And I think most people don't even have $1,000 in their savings or their savings account out here in America. And we're one of the most affluent countries in the world. So the fact that it does happen, he's right. It does happen in certain places. The wealthy can do that kind of a thing, but that's a small percentage. So when I'm looking at this guy, who's yada about topics that he doesn't know very much about, and this is part of my concern when people have these kind of conversations, it's completely detached from real understanding of the world, mathematics, science, anthropology, sociology, psychology, how things really work, the sciences. Science means knowledge, your conscience with knowledge. We got to have a knowledge base with these kind of things. A lot of people on the line are talking about all kinds of different topics and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, so he's saying that, okay, what science would that be in school? That'd be linguistics, or that would be philosophy, or that would be epistemology, or that would be this, or that would be that. And then go look it up, learn it for yourself. When you do the math, a lot of stuff he's saying, the math don't even add up. If women start doing what he's saying 50K, what percentage of the men can actually do that? That's just one aspect. Mathematically, what percent of the men can actually do it? Versus how many women? Let's just make up and say, we know most women want to get married in their lifetime. But let's just say only 60% of women want to get married in their life. Only 60% of women want to get married. There's still more that want to date, but let's just say that only women that want to marry are the ones that want to date. Is 60% of men going to be able to give them 50K? Or is it 1% of men that can give them 50K? We'll say 10% of men max can give them 50K. What are 50% of women going to do? Are they going to be polygamous? Generally, women don't want polygamy. So this guy is giving haphazard advice, completely unattached from reality, which is not very manly to do. That's the purpose of this show, is to be logical and reasonable. He is not being logical and reasonable. But you don't think that feels good to the ears? If somebody told you as a man, 50K to date you, wouldn't that make you feel good? Don't everybody want free stuff? Won't everybody want money? Of course we do. Ladies, think about that. He knows that a lot of us have itching ears and want to hear things and want to get things for free, a certain amount of entitlement. Of course, obviously, we all want to get that money for a date. But is that really realistic? What obligations on your end do you have if the guy's going to pay you? I'm not saying it's wrong for a man to give you 50K for a date. You know, if you can get it. What I'm saying is this a recipe for success for the general population? If he would have said, hey, look, for you, the most attractive woman in the world, you should do this, I would have a problem with that. But it is good for our community. The average black man makes, we'll say, $42,000 a year. The average white man, $52,000. The average Asian man, 60-something thousand. None of them have the money to be able to do that. That's a year's salary. And even if they gave you all their checks for a year, if they made 60K, with taxes taken out of it, they still wouldn't be able to do that for you. How old does he expect people to be when they're marrying? How long would it take a person making $70,000, which is above average for all the demographics? How long would it take for that person at 50K to get somebody for a date? His mom would slap him upside the head if he did something like that. A woman. We gotta think. If we're not thinking just what benefits us, we'll realize this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So other countries, normal for me to give 50K. He's saying it's normal in other places. It's normal for the rich in those places. But the most affluent people are here in America, percentage-wise. The ones that don't want to be a real... So the ladies are more reasonable on this show than he was. That's what's crazy about it. They were more reasonable than him. The lady was like, I don't think... What about men who don't want to be finessed? They've already done studies on the fact that I just saw an article a couple of days ago where a woman was able to cut her grocery bill by a substantial amount by going on 6 dates a week.
Wow.
She was able to save on groceries on 6 dates a week. I think there's an article, and I think it was some kind of New York newspaper or something like that that said 33% of women have admitted they go on dates just for free food. So when ladies hear that, they go, "I wouldn't do something like that. I don't need your money." You don't think people outside of yourself? Think about the people you worked with that were petty.
Mm-hmm.
You ever bought food for everybody at the office and they don't buy you food back? Women and men. This is what these guys are dating out there. I bought food people right there, and people shit them a little bit. Maybe you buy everybody some. You collect money to go do the run. It's supposed to be they buy, you fly. I'm gonna go pick it up. Y'all put the money in. Did they factor the taxes? When you get back, do they want that change back? Or if they took your money, did they give you the change back, or they kept that change for shipping the hand, whatever it was? You don't think people out here, these women going on dates, are doing those kind of same things? I'm not saying men wouldn't do it either. I've had guys who was like, "Well, your meal was 20 plus tax. He gave me a 20. He just assumed I would cover the rest, and it wasn't a big deal. I did cover the rest." But my point is saying this: people are entitled, and they will finesse when they can, women and men. So when this guy's talking about the ones that don't want to be used, people don't want to be used. I forgot I was going to make this point earlier.
Yeah, that's what the lady said. Yeah, the host said.
Also, I want to bring this point up too. From a psychological standpoint, a sociological standpoint, women and men, you got to understand this. People that tend to be more affluent, people that tend to be more successful tend to be less agreeable, more of a stickler for the dollar and the penny.
Sure.
Meaning that the people who are more likely to tell you no are those who are more successful. That's how they got successful. They say no. Mm-hmm. They don't spend. One of my mentors that had a nice house, great job, he had an envelope with how much he can spend per week or per month, one of the two. And he stuck to that. The Olive Dave Ramseyites out there, it's an envelope. Or they have their way of having a budget for themselves, so they don't do needless spending. Do you think you're fun? Do you think if you were a lady financial advisor and you had male clients, would you be telling your male clients to give $50K to the ladies that they're dating, strangers they're meeting? No, you wouldn't. Be reasonable. Be fair-minded. If you had a son who had a good job as an engineer, as a doctor, or as a lawyer, or he was a successful plumber or HVAC guy, whatever it is, he's a manager. These people are making anywhere between 80 to, we'll say, 250K. Because somebody make a 250K, get somebody 50K for a date. They're saying it's the guys who complain about it, or the guys who don't want to get finessed, or the guys who don't have it. That's not true. Statistically speaking, people that are most successful are more concerned with being finessed.
Yeah,
they're the ones that got their credit locked, so you can't even run their credit. They're the ones who have extra identity protection, so you can't get to their stuff. They're the ones who they don't got to prove to you why they're saying no. They say no, and you got to prove why they should say yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they keep their money. Those of us who've been in sales and have to deal with people that have money, we know that. The higher the credit, the more you got to convince them. The lower the credit, the easier it is to convince them. General rules. It doesn't apply to everybody. So what he's saying doesn't even match the psychological profile of the people they're talking about right now. Now you're talking about rappers and people who get their money really fast, rappers and athletes and stuff like that that didn't have to do a lot of the cerebral work to know the value of a dollar. Then perhaps in some of those cases they are spending $10,000, $15,000. But as Angelique said, most men aren't spending $15,000, $10,000 at the strip club. That's 25% of their salary for their job before taxes. So this guy right here is very haphazard, very flippant with his advice. He doesn't have the average person's best interest at heart. He's not thinking about the fact that in order to build wealth, one of the best ways to build wealth, especially within the Black community, is marriage.
Yes, sir.
The income of a Black household where both of them are working and the income of a white household when they're both working are relatively similar. The wealth distinction there is not really there anymore. Marriage is the way to bridge that gap. But he's saying you got to be wealthy to get married. When marriage is the best way to build wealth. Figure that out. Chicken or the egg? Egg or the chicken? Does this guy have our best interests at heart? Is he coming from a scholar's perspective? He's coming from somebody who wants to sell some books. And he's going to be invited to these platforms because he's saying things that we all want to hear. If I was a lady, I'd want to hear that too.
Speaking of that, that's a good segue to Nick Dozier. He said, y'all to just be capping, pandering to a certain audience. Yeah. Yeah, man. You want to speak to that?
Facts. That's absolutely right. Facts. Did I cover all my notes here?
I think I got the... So go ahead, bro.
Last thing, you got more notes? More
no, I had the timestamp when he said he agreed that women should date. But you go ahead and finish your point.
So yeah, last thing I want to say is she even asked when he said, I go to other countries, women in America have been brainwashed. They haven't been brainwashed. We're in a pretty much a recession right now. Inflation is through the roof. Groceries are wildly overly priced, exorbitant amounts of money we're spending right now on groceries right now. People are struggling. Those of us who are in sales and the business world, people hold on to their money. And investors hold on to their money. Homeowners hold on to their money. It's an unstable economy. And they're saying, oh, if you want to date somebody, you got to give them 50K, 10K, whatever the number is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's wild, bro.
And then he said he doesn't believe in dating. And Anton brought up the point about family structures. None of this stuff happened in the Bible. For the average person. You had the couple to survive. Most people, white, black, Asian, whatever you want to say, will not have the money they need to live through retirement on just their income. To survive, you have to couple. You have to marry. That's not what Yad is saying. He's going against all the science that we're aware of on this topic. That's my point. We can get back to it. If you have anything you want to say.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just play that segment because they spend a lot of time covering what he said on the lip service. Let me know. Can you see? Okay, it's popping up. All right, here we go.
It already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, then I got ghosted. So that's a whole other story. But I'm like, you know what? I want to have like a little Tuesday, a little Wednesday, a little Thursday.
Out of it already?
Yeah. Just because I've never done that. But yeah, just to like live that life for a little 3 hoes. I kind of want to have a phase.
Okay.
So I'm coming out of my celibacy. I kind of want to have a phase where I have 3 hoes. 3 hoes.
Come on, rotation.
Yeah, just to like live that life for a little bit, like a solid roster. Just because I've never done that.
Now, when you say coming out of your celibacy, are you out of it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I got ghosted. So that's a whole other story. But I'm like, you know what? I want to have like a little Tuesday, a little Wednesday, a little Saturday.
Right.
Rotation.
But she knows what she wants. So what do you think about that?
I say date them all. and let the richest
but
man
where
that
are
loves you the
they?
most win.
And so what do I do? Like, I don't even know where to, I don't know where to find them. B, I don't know what to say. I'm so out of the game.
It's so hard to tell if somebody has money too or not.
You know what I'll tell you? Date them all, but keep your vagina to yourself.
Okay. That's not what she wants.
Yeah,
but no. But listen to what I'm saying to you. Date them all, but keep your vagina to yourself, because the one that's just playing with you, he's not gonna last. He's gonna show because he's gonna move you on to the next one.
Okay.
Because you're pretty, so a lot of men just try to get you to sleep with you.
All right, I think that's the help.
Yeah. So to address that point really quickly, they're about to get into the dispute right here. He does cover the, you can just tell this guy's not, he's not an intellectual. Intellectuals are very careful about their words. This guy didn't have the most extensive vocabulary, the most astute vocabulary. That's fine. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. You don't need to have the most robust vocabulary to be successful in life. So I'm not saying that in any way to knock him. But one thing about people who are very intellectual or very deep, they want to make sure they're clear. They want to make sure they're understood. They're thinking about the timing of the words. They want to make sure they have an apt word in light of what's being said. And what he's doing right now with that lady is he had to circle back to get to his principle, which, don't sleep with these men. which is cool. But he started off by saying date him off, or she just got done saying she wants to have, hoes. So he should have done a better job of getting context. Now, is this entertainment? It's on the internet. It's for entertainment. Okay, fine. I'm not going to knock him for that. He just wants to be entertaining. Cool. But when the lady says that she's going to be going on these dates with these different men, he said, go for the richest one that loves you the most. But this is the guy who's quoting the Bible. The Bible never says anything like that? The Bible said, blessed are the poor. I've chosen the poor to be rich in spirit. Where does the Bible that this guy quotes with Anton when he's having a debate, I didn't hear him mention on the Angela Yiso show. Maybe he does. He probably does. But is he getting his advice from the Bible in that context? When he's quoting Genesis, this and that and other stuff right here, or does he picks and choose when the Bible's relevant to make his points? Mm-hmm. Why isn't he exegeting the text to figure out what kind of advice he should give a lady about when it comes to coming out of her hoe phase? I want the audience to think about that. I'm not knocking. I'm not judging him for it. That's a legitimate question.
Say that again, bro.
Say what part again? I don't know what part you want me to say again.
The question you said, why is he? I didn't hear that part. I wanted to.
I said, why is he? I don't remember what I said. I said, why is he picking and choosing whenever he wants to quote the Bible to make his points? Okay. The lady said she wants to come out of a hoe phase.
Wow.
What does the Bible say about a hoe phase? The hoe phase in the Bible? You gonna quote Mary Magdalene? Later on, he does say, keep your vagina to yourself. Fine. So these guys are going to be spending money to hang out with this lady. Just keep it in mind to herself. When she says the whole point she brought it up was to say about her whole phase. Yeah. But he's going to ignore that point. He said, keep the leverage on you. And the guys who are not to be taken seriously are going to, weed themselves out. In a nutshell, what he's saying.
Yeah, she's not talking about that. She want to be intimate. That's what she.
Not even on topic. And again, this guy has shown himself the whole time I've been doing this show to consistently veer off topic. Mm-hmm. To veer off topic.
And then the women that was on the couch, they had to remind him. They're like, yo, she wants to be physical.
Yeah, he's off topic. He can't even stay on topic. Anton reminded him, the host have reminded him, the lady on the show having reminded him he's off topic. Mm. How is this proper leadership? Mm. The Bible says an apt word. Audience, all of this stuff has guidelines. This is not nitpicking. Look it up, an apt word. Being on topic is a wisdom thing or a foolish thing. His communication is foolish. Oftentimes. Not all the time. He struggles with being on topic and having an apt word.
Wow.
How frustrated would you be when you're asking questions, trying to get insight from somebody, and they can't stay on topic? Wow. So I think that was my only point about what he said there. When they have their debate about this, I guess anything that comes up.
Okay, we get back into the video.
I don't think. I think we'll. I don't know what topic they're on right now, but they switched topics. I guess we'll move on.
Yeah, I think they're still on topic as far as him contradicting 100%. Himself. I'm sorry?
For the 100% providing thing?
No, dating. He didn't agree with dating. I think Antoine is calling him out when it's contradictions.
No, but I'm saying we'll see. You're going to play it.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, at word. I guess to give the definition, I'm not able to pull it up right now. But
I'm saying there was 4 topics they're going to discuss in this debate. The first one was 100%. Should the man pay 100%?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious what topic they're on now. There's 4 of them total.
I wonder, because I remember it was 50-50. I remember they was talking about going 50-50.
Yeah, that was on the first topic. Well, we'll see. It should be on the bottom of the screen whenever we turn it back on.
All right, we check it out. But app word dictionary, terms, app word, appropriate or suitable in circumstances, just to let the audience know.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's get back into it.
Didn't say you said anything that you didn't say.
I'm talking to him, brother.
No,
it's okay, brother. I love you, hey, bro. I love you, man.
No. You talking to him, but
so
you debating me.
A lot of people. Go
ahead,
honestly, talking to you now, it's not. I realize it's not even a debate. Because a lot of our basics are similar. A lot of the foundation of what me and him talk about is similar.
True.
It's just different angles from different perspectives. And I understand his opinion. I see it, and I respect it. I respect it. Yeah, I think that might be my little brother right there. You never know.
That's cute. That's cute.
See, that's my favorite line too. That's cute.
cute.
That's my little brother. But all I'm saying, when I said the woman should date multiple men, I'm not saying cook for them. I'm not saying sleep with them. I'm saying if you're already in this mix, find out what's good for you. You don't have no children as of yet. Go ahead, enjoy yourself, but make sure there's a limit onto what you do, because you're already in that field. I'm coming from her understanding.
So go ahead.
Now, if this is a young girl coming to me, hey, y'all, I'm thinking about such and such. Sister, stay focused. Keep your body to yourself. If you're still a virgin, hold it. If you've already lost your virginity, stop. If a man truly loves you, which the woman is the prize, if a man truly loves you, he's going to become a champion, and he's going to show you why he wants you in his life. So ladies, if a man is unable to provide your every need as a husband should do, he's not the one for you. And I'm going to say that
Right there.
I'm harder on the men, yes, because.
So again, this goes back to that no true Scotsman thing again, and the Nirvana fallacy. If the guy's not perfect, it's not good. Nirvana fallacy, audience. Well, all the folks out there. If it's not perfect, he's not all your needs. If it's not 100%, he's not worthy of you. No true Scotsman. He's not a real man. He's not a real leader if he's not doing all this stuff. Whichever one you want to pick for those fallacies right there, that's what he's violating. This is not reasonable. He's being unreasonable right now. Ma'am, are you perfect? Are you perfectly submissive? Are you a perfect helpmate? No. Why would you put that expectation on? Treat others as you want to be treated. Why would you put that on him? This guy is using sophistry. He wants to tickle your ears. His desire is to sift you like wheat.
Wow.
But you must master him. So keep that in mind. People like this. Yeah, keep this in mind. Listen to people like this. This guy right here is saying things to make you feel a certain way. And if I was a lady and this guy was telling me stuff like that, I feel amazing pretty too. I hope I get me a guy to give me $50K just to go on some dates. We've already covered. It's already been proven. Ladies, 30% of women have admitted that they go on dates just for free meals. Other women have admitted that that they've been able to save thousands of dollars just by going on 6 dates a week. So that being the case, we know that everybody doesn't have the best intentions on the man's side or the lady's side. Why is all of his emphasis on the woman having the man prove he has the best intentions and all that kind of stuff? What the lady? And so this guy right here is purposely trying to deceive and flatter. It will line his pockets quite nicely. Don't be the person that goes for this kind of stuff. You'll end up alone for the most part. Not everybody, but percentage-wise, there's not enough people, not enough men that's going to do what he wants men to do and thinks men should be doing for enough women to be able to get that. If you wait on that, you will die alone. The Bible never tells you to do it. Nobody who really studies these topics will tell you to do this, because it doesn't make any sense mathematically, scientifically, to do this kind of things logically, biblically. So just keep that in mind and listen to people like this, Pete. So I think he said, I also want to cover this debate thing. It's not a debate, it is a debate. Then he says we got different preferences and stuff like that. We come up from different preferences, different angles. Yeah, that's why it's a debate. We didn't say preferences. I forgot what word to use. Perspectives and angles. Yeah, that's what makes it a debate. Y'all do have commonality, but y'all got to realize when it comes to debate, it's not. If he wants to say it's not a quarrel, I'd agree. Meaning they don't have animosity towards one another. What they're saying for the most part is not so immoral that you feel like the person is a moral monster and you have to crush them. What Yada is saying for the most part is just untenable. It's not viable. You can't do it. Society couldn't sustain itself if you did you actually executed his advice. Not enough folks in the population to give women that for it to make sense. And it's not even fiscally responsible if you have some kind of financial advisor. They would never tell you to do that with a woman, whether they were a Christian or not. It's just insane what he's saying. But that aside, whenever you're having a debate with somebody, audience, what you want to do if you're trying to be compelling and convincing and make good points and maybe bring them to your side, you have to establish the common ground between you and use that common ground in order to bridge the gap between y'all's mutual perspectives. So where they have the common ground is not proof they don't need to debate. It's useful in the debate so they can get to a common ground. How can two walk together unless they be in agreement? That's Amos 3:3. They have to be in agreement on some things so they can walk together. They also can find a way to bridge some of these gaps of understanding by finding their commonality. The commonality doesn't end the debate. The commonality is necessary for the debate. If they have no commonality at all, there's just war. There's no debate. There's just quarrels, which we want to avoid. So that's all I want to say about that part right there.
Wow. You asked the question what topic that they are. There's 4 topics they was covering. One was should men pay 100% of the bills? Mm-hmm. I think this segment is are women less submissive? And you see where we at. He's not on topic right now. So they're supposed to be talking about are women less submissive nowadays. So
I want to cover that part too. I wanted to cover it, but I paused it a few times before. So I apologize for covering it right here because it's not directly related to what we just paused. Okay. Talking a little too fast there. But also, we're using the Bible, right? So the Bible says that, a husband should lay down his life for his wife like Christ laid down his life for the church. And the woman should submit herself to her husband like his husband, like the church is submitted to Christ. Mm-hmm. Does the Bible ever say that if because Christ leads perfectly, his bride will follow perfectly, or they'll naturally submit?
That's a good question.
Have you known folks in your church and your people that you're around that say they love Jesus, they don't submit to Jesus, they don't live according to his laws and stuff like that? Does that mean that Jesus is not a good leader? If we're going to use the Bible examples and say Genesis, we're going to do all that stuff that he's doing, where is it ever proven scientifically, psychologically, biblically speaking, that because a man is leading the right way, it means she's going to submit? Am I saying that just because a woman, because a man is if a man does his job, a woman might not, maybe more likely to submit? She probably will be more likely to submit. That's my guess. That's my understanding. That's what my belief is. I'm not as ardent on it as Yada is because there's no. I don't know of any proof that says that. There's been plenty of men who are great men that the wife didn't submit and left them. Women leave the marriages 80% of the 70-80% of the time. If they're educated, master's degree, doctorate degree, the number goes up.
90%.
Yeah, the men. There's plenty of women online. Even I thought about this before we even started the show. Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, we covered her when she was on Cam Newton and Nick Cannon's show, and she even said in her counseling sessions, she said that like over 70% of the time the women had good men. Mm-hmm. Even she said that over 70-80% of the time the women had good men. The men
70%, and she said they was low functioning.
Yeah, the men were great. It was the women that had issues.
Yeah, the women was low function. 70% is low function. I think.
So I'm not saying that her saying that makes Yada wrong. I'm just saying you got somebody else who is, I guess, some kind of a therapist or counselor, whatever it is. I don't know her credentials. I don't know how much she actually traffics in that type of work, especially being as famous as she is. But you got a lady right there saying that most of the people that she's dealt with in her work, the men were great guys. These women had, but they still were unsatisfied. She talks about she had great men in her life, and she would treat them like dogs. So Yada's claim is that if a man does this, he'll naturally submit. The Bible doesn't teach that. Jesus is a perfect leader. We don't always submit. Yeah. Let's be for real.
And he used that example. You remember he used Mary Magdalene. That was his example. Why?
Yeah, but Jesus and Mary Magdalene weren't married.
Bars.
So that's not even a good analogy. So again, with Yada here, we have a man who is being deceptive in his analogies. He's making points and claims about a woman naturally submitting if she has the right leader who's serving in every kind of way. There's no proof to sustain that. There is evidence to show when people don't have consequence for their actions, and a man and people are being given them things just because, they tend to sour. They tend to spoil. People tend to do better when they earn things, when there's consequence for their actions. So there is science to disprove what he's saying.
True.
There is theology that disproves what he's saying. That's why I mentioned an example of the Bible making the analogy between a man has to love his wife like Christ of the church, and a woman must submit to her husband as the church submits to Christ. But that doesn't say that just because Jesus is a great leader that we're going to be great followers. So there's a lot of reasons in different sciences, the theology, the psychology, the sociology that says that what he's saying is untrue. Now, if you want to choose to believe what he's saying, audience, all the folks out there, just because it feels good and tickles your ears, that's on you. But what has he set up substance to substantiate this particular claim? Nothing. What we got, Enos?
We got comments. Shout out to Brandon Pitt says because the woman want the alpha male or a good guy, not the nice guy.
Shout out to my man Pitts.
What's up, Pitts?
My guy.
Haven't seen you in the comments in a while. What's up, man? What's up? All right. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go.
These men are the leaders.
So let me close this poll out real quick.
No.
Go ahead. Come on.
So should she?
The woman that I was speaking to, I came from her understanding. And I said, sister, you got 3 men. Date them all until you find which one is for you. I didn't say sleep with them. I didn't say cook for them. Go to the movies, hang out, have the conversation with them. The one that's for you is going to overshadow everybody else.
She said
Tom.
that she was looking to basically go through a whole phase because she had been abstinent for the last 2 years and she was coming out of her abstinence. That's what she said.
And what did I say?
Why are you interrupting me now? See, you didn't want to talk to me. You wanted to talk to them.
I love you, man. What's going on, man?
You didn't want to talk.
Can you look that up so we can get the specifics on that? Can you look it up? Can you find that?
He didn't want to talk to me. He wanted to talk to y'all.
Check TikTok.
And I told him to look me in the eye, and he kept looking at y'all. But now that I'm...
Yeah, and I think we can probably wrap this up pretty soon here. At least we'll have to do a part 2, it looks like. But the one, he said the one that's the one that's for you will overshadow the rest. See, the issue with this is that assumes that the lady's discernment on what's for her is infallible. People pick the wrong people for jobs, for romance, for contract work for around the house. I just saw an article in San Antonio about a guy who was mad because they hired a contractor that didn't get the job done right. People mispick people all the time. Our pickers aren't perfect at all. We're not Roman Catholics that believe in papal infallibility for the most part. So people make mistakes. People pick the wrong people for different things. She could be dating 3 different guys and choose the wrong guy. So he assumes all the best about these ladies in their situations, that their intuitions, their thoughts, their feelings is some type of arbiter of truth, is some type of epistemology, some type of rubric that gets them where they need to be. Instead of sound reasoning, cold, hard, boring reasoning. Getting counsel. Well, there's a multitude of counsel plans when I fail. The guidelines giving. I didn't hear him bring up the Bible at all when he was talking to them on the Angela Yee show, but he's bringing it up on this show here. He said, I used what she was saying in a nutshell. How's that going to help her out? How you know her understanding, her basic understanding is enough to fill in the blanks in your advice? Y'all going to come from 2 different perspectives. He didn't even try to make sure she had the right foundation of understanding to be to interpret his information in the right way. He said things that sounded good to the ear. Make them pay $50K to go out with you. Get on a payment, put them on a payment plan. The richest one that likes you the most, go with that one. And then the one who is for you will overshadow the rest. Overshadow the rest in what way? Then the last part I want to say, he says, "Hey, I love you, brother." Telling Anton, "I love you. I love you. I love you" is not loving somebody. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing. Love rejoices in truth. This guy's not rejoicing in truth. We can say we love somebody. He can have warm and fuzzies for this guy, Anton. And if that's what he means by love, it's a very shallow definition of love, but I'll give that to him. That's why I said a rebuking tongue will seem harder than a flattering tongue. An open rebuke is better than hidden love. What yada, yada, yada is doing right now is not giving afterwards, staying off topic, giving haphazard advice to strangers that's only going to be even possible for a minority of the human population that have ever existed, while the rest would take his advice to the detriment of the entire society. With a smile on his face saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." That's not love. Audience, that's not love. Love does not insist upon its own way. Love does not lean on its own understanding. That's what he's been doing. This is not the understanding of science. It's not the understanding of the Bible. This is his own understanding. This is his own way. I traveled. I did this. I experienced this. This is what I would do. All my people, my family do this. That's you. This advice is not prevalent in the Hispanic community, in the Asian community, in the Middle Eastern community, in the Indian community that I'm aware of. They'll live together for years inside of a house to get a restaurant together as a couple. Is that not a man? Because they're doing it together? I didn't think about that. So we're gonna wrap this up, folks. Where we at on this? I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Man, I got one question, bro. His name is Yada Awakening. Why you keep calling him Yada Yada Yada?
Yada 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 is a figure of speech people use whenever they are skipping over the unimportant parts of the conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
And most of what he said is the unimportant parts of the conversation, if for nothing else, because it's off topic.
Definitely display that tonight.
So his Yada Awaken, he's not woke. He's asleep still. And he's sleeping on you, the audience, too. He doesn't think you're smart enough and wise enough to recognize the ways in which he's hoodwinking you, beguiling you. But we're better than that. We're Bereans. We're Vulcans.
Sure. Guess we can start off with closing statements, bro. I guess I go off and you can close.
All right.
We can start with part 2. Thank y'all for joining us. This is the Vocal Soapbox. Our goal is to, emphasize and guide a systematic way of thinking, which helps us to expand awareness. This is meant to be informative. That's why I like doing this show. Logic and reason are intertwined, and it's the highest place. It holds at the highest place at how can I say it the best way? It's the highest place in our hierarchies of values. Embracing logic and reasoning represents strong, admirable aspect of masculinity, and that's what we want to cultivate in our culture. So, man, thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm Enos, and I'm with my guy Vulcan. Closing statements.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to the show. Feel free to leave comments. Please like, subscribe, share. There's no hate on what we do. We don't want to do ad hominems, audience. It's when you attack the person rather than with the argument.
Yes.
So I try my best to do that. We do have to make certain inferences about people's motives and intentions at times based off of their techniques. Just no different than if you're watching a boxing match and you see a guy keep hitting somebody below the belt, you start to think that's got to be intentional.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes to listening to people communicate about important topics like this. If I'm hearing a guy go below the belt, being dishonest, being haphazard, being neglectful, negligent of what the information is available, not having an app word, things like that. I'm thinking, okay, that's below the belt. Fallacious reasoning, that's below the belt. This is an integrity thing, y'all. Don't look at me saying that's a fallacy, that's incorrect sometimes as just ivory tower, intellectual erudite nothingness, or what that is it's a moral component to it. It's a virtue. When people speak, they should speak in a way that's authentic to what's actually going on, what actually corresponds to reality. It's called the correspondence theory of truth. Most of us believe the truth is that which corresponds to reality. This guy is not tuned into reality. And that could be a very moral thing when you're giving advice. The Bible says teachers will undergo a stricter judgment. Some of you will do well not to be teachers, for teachers will undergo a stricter judgment. Paul told Timothy, guard your life and your doctrine closely, and you will save both yourself and your hearers. We have an obligation as teachers to guard our lives and our doctrines closely so we can save ourselves and our hearers. Yah is not doing that. I don't mean he's a bad man. He could be a great father. He could be a great husband. He's a pretty good communicator. But that doesn't mean that what he's saying has our best interest, that he has our best interest by extension. And that's what I'm calling him out on. Call you to do better, Yada. Do better. Anton displayed a tremendous amount of patience dealing with this guy on this show. But this is part one. We're gonna do most likely do part two. I'm sure we're gonna do part two. I think the point's pretty much been made, but I know people out there, when you listen to at the end of the show, they have people call into the show and say whether or not they agreed or disagreed with Anton or him, and a lot of people agree with what he was saying, especially a lot of the ladies.
Yeah.
So
I know.
And so my whole thing is, if you're saying that the ladies can't endure what the men endure, and that the men are meant to be the leaders, and the men are meant to teach the ladies and give them the word, then wouldn't you think that if the ladies are agreeing with you and the men aren't agreeing with you like that, then maybe why aren't the leaders, according to what he's saying, agreeing with him? That's the question. But that's pretty much it. Vulcan Soapbox, y'all. Please like, subscribe, support, share. If you want to come on the show, let us know. Inbox us. We're just getting started. Send us videos or comments if you want us to cover certain things. We do this because we care. We've been doing this for years. Since we were young, we've been talking about these topics and breaking it down. People kept telling me, you need to get this stuff on record. You need to record this. You need to get this stuff where I would talk to people in different places in life. They always say, you got to get this for recording. People call me all the time and ask me questions about all kind of random stuff and pick my brain about different things. And so we said, we got to put it online, so everybody can benefit from it. And I can really challenge myself. So I appreciate all of y'all's help and support. I know Enos does as well. Vulcan
Yes, sir.
Soapbox. We're out.